How do you tell the story of a man like my dad, Alec Lawson, who accomplished so much over his lifetime that spanned 93 years? Well, I'll start at the beginning. Dad was born in 1926, the fourth and youngest child in a very poor mining family in Scotland. He arrived in this world unplanned and unwelcome. His no-nonsense mother, Nancy, was already struggling to feed 3 other children, and she made no secret that Alec was an unwanted burden on the family. Imagine how that shaped a wee laddie. Fortunately, my dad's father was also named Alex, was a kind and loving man who found joy in each and every one of his children, and he often referred to them as his medals. The story goes that when Nancy sent her husband down to register this wailing newborn, his father decided to stop at the local pub. After toasting his new son, his third son, with his mates, he decided, by God, this is my last one, I'll name him after myself. And he did. When Nancy discovered what her husband had done, she was livid, and she swore she would never call him Alexander. And she never did. Henceforth, my dad was known to everyone in Scotland as Alistair. Notwithstanding a bit of a domineering mother, my dad developed an irrepressible sense of humor, one that often got him in a lot of trouble. He gained a reputation around town as a wild laddie, frequently at the center of mischief. For example, at the age of 3, his mum told the story of the local police bringing him home because he'd been throwing rocks through an abandoned window. Then there was the time that the sewer system on their street backed up. And it was because Dad thought it would be funny to flush his wee dungarees down the toilet. And as the workers dug up the street and all the women were gawking and peering, trying to find out what the blockage was, his mother was horrified when she recognized her son's wee trousers as the cause and quickly shuffled them back into the house. Too young for war, but not for the equally dangerous work in the coal mines, my dad spent his teen years toiling underground in West Lothian's mines, the coal fields near Edinburgh. He sought relief from the danger and the drudgery by attending church, by learning the bagpipes, and by playing epic practical jokes on his mates. Alex is probably the only person that ever got fired from the coal mines for having too much fun. Like many who have known hunger, my father developed a legendary love of food, and he was particularly fond of sweets, custards, cakes, breads. The man never met a carb he didn't love. Mischief did get him out of the mines, but it was the pipes that proved to be the ticket to a better life. In 1950, Ogilvy's store in Montreal placed an ad in the Edinburgh Evening News looking for Scottish pipers to play at the store each day as well as learn a trade. Alec responded and shortly thereafter boarded a tramper steamer for a new life in Canada, leaving behind family, friends, and everything that was familiar to him. Upon arriving in Canada, Dad embraced the name on his birth certificate. He became Alexander, Alex for short. The new country agreed with him. The food was better, job safety actually meant something, and there was no shortage of admiring young women, sweet on the tall, strapping lad in his full Highland dress. Incredibly, his piping didn't scare off the best-looking one. He caught the eye of my mom, Joy, a bonny lass working behind Ogilvy's handkerchief counter, and who was also determined to marry a handsome Scotsman just like her father. The two soon fell in love and began their life together. Dad joined the Bell Telephone, where my mom's dad and brothers already worked, and began his training as an installer. But God had other plans for my father. Dad was deeply spiritual in his teens, and by his early 20s, he felt a call to the clergy. With only a grade 8 education, he enrolled in night school, and he studied hard, and he eventually passed the entrance exams to McGill University. He obtained a degree in theology and soon thereafter was ordained as a minister in the United Church of Canada. His boss at the Bell Telephone, Mac Willock, was dismayed to lose such a promising company man to God. Alex would have made an excellent telephone man, he lamented. Dad described himself as a lonely child growing up, haunted by the knowledge that he wasn't wanted. To him, the solution was simple: have a big family. To that end, Alex married Joy, and the two soon got busy raising a rambunctious family of 6. Some born, some chosen, many fostered. Ministering to a large flock also made him feel wanted. He cherished his congregations and the many people who sought comfort in his therapy. What is more, each Sunday he was guaranteed a captive audience. And he rejoiced in the countless free meals at weddings, church suppers, community events, and yes, even funerals. Preaching was his dream job. Perhaps the icing on the cake was the grudging admiration of his mother, who marveled at her wild laddie who had finally brought respect to the family. 6 decades after emigrating to his adopted country, Alex's love of the pipes, Burns' poetry, and the Holy Land, Scotland, all remained intact. Even at the end, his undiminished accent suggested that he had just got off the boat. There are none more Scot than the Scots abroad. And at 93, Dad could still sing and recite many, many of the songs and poems of Robert Burns, Scotland's beloved bard, which put him in high demand on the Burns dinner circuit. Dad loved wearing his full Highland regalia, and he wore it proudly when he officiated at our wedding in 2012. On that wonderful day, we used his dirk to cut our wedding cake. Dad had it engraved and gifted it to Garth and I on the condition that he could have it back every January to make the rounds at the Burn dinners, reciting the Selkirk Grace, the toast to the haggis, and the toast to the immortal memory of Rabbie Burns. Indeed, Dad was just the kind of Scotsman that Burns exalted in his poetry. Born poor but proud, he found strength and happiness in his Scottish heritage, his family, his church, and his tireless sense of humor. Dad often used to say, my riches have come from my poverty. That proved true during his final days when that unwanted wee laddie from West Lothian departed this world, cherished and surrounded by love and laughter and song. So, Dad, here's to your immortal memory. Love your own wee lassie, chickie.
A little bit about me. I'm Rowan. I was Alex's grandson, and, well, I loved him very much. It's enough about me. Let's talk about Alex. I really admired him as a grandfather, even in the end, because he had something that I'd never seen in anyone else. He had no resentment. He didn't want to change anything. He was happy with what he had, and he enjoyed what he had.